This podcast and every other podcast that I make is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. They got this episode, I think, about 2 weeks ago, including an unedited extended version. And one of the upper tiers also got an extra podcast episode where we spoke about food. So thank you for allowing us to make this show where I get to pay my hosts, pay multiple editors, and run everything completely sponsorship free. Enjoy the episode.
But hello, everyone. Welcome to Movie House.
All right.
Hey, Jason. It's Elyse. It's Ryan Haley.
Hi.
What have you guys been up to?
Watching movies. It's all we do in houses.
No, I honestly haven't seen many movies at all in the last couple weeks.
Okay, I've seen a lot.
Looking at my letterbox, I'm like, I haven't had to rate anything in a really long time. So I don't know
so
what
not
I've been
movies.
up to. Yeah, TV.
You guys started a podcast based on the live show.
Yes,
What's going on?
Based
What
on
is that?
nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah, we started. So I had been doing this live show, Answer for It, which is every other month or something, kind of a very formal trivia show. And then Elyse had the great idea to say, like, what if we did a podcast spinoff that was way more casual, where she finds trivia questions and riddles and brain teasers, and then poses it to myself, AJ Lacasio, and Zach Anner. And then we, like idiots, try and be funny while coming up to the right answer. It's way more casual.
It's like a catalyst for, kind of like comedy and nonsense, but
yeah.
What's it called? Where can people find it?
You can find it. If you just search for Answer for It anywhere you listen to your podcast, we have it. We're on YouTube as well. And then, that's probably the easiest way to find it, right?
I will leave a link in the description, of course.
Awesome.
Thanks, Lana.
Thank you.
Cool. Of course. Ryan, what have you been up to? You did say watching movies already.
Watching movies. I have no brain cells left from 3 nights of Phish this past weekend at the
my
Hollywood
God.
Bowl.
Crazy, man.
Saw the same band for 7 hours over 3 days. It was awesome.
How did you get there? Here's the thing.
Ubers?
The Hollywood Bowl traffic is the worst thing in the fucking world.
I
The
know.
idea of doing that 3 nights in a row, and I don't even really care about traffic. I'll call people. I'll listen to music. The Hollywood Bowl specifically makes me want to blow my brains
Getting
out.
there is not that big of a deal. Like
Leaving?
it's leaving is the hell, and especially when you're going through like Nitrous Alley with just balloons popping and all these
Yeah.
people losing their minds, and
Woof.
if you're on anything, it's
Hold on. Nitrous Alley is a
happen to be on
specific
anything.
thing to this.
It's any jam band within walking distance has an
Okay.
alley full of people with
Okay.
nitrous tanks.
All right.
However you want to call it. The
know that.
Philly nitrous mafia comes out. And,
is that where Guillermo del Toro got it from?
Yeah.
Probably
Alley.
the Hollywood Bowl. You've had very different experiences with leaving the Hollywood Bowl, but I'm glad to know that you have that insight.
me and Elyse just recorded a Speed 3 writer's room that should be coming out soon.
So we just once, I don't know. Well, I stream with Ryan occasionally. And one time I said to him, they had announced Happy Gilmore 2, and I said, let's try to come up with what we think the plot of this movie is going to be. What we think Happy Gilmore. We're big Happy fans. So let's do it. And then Ryan said to me, he said, let's do that again. Let's pick another movie that's going to come out. But then there isn't obviously Speed 3 that's greenlit and coming out, but
yet.
there's been, Sandra Bullock has said that she would come back for Speed
That
3.
might be after your writer's room.
If Jean de Bont comes back.
We had a lot of interesting ideas.
Yeah. We cracked that movie.
Is that on your
Jean de
Patreon?
Huh?
Is that going to be on your Patreon?
No, it'll be on for free for everyone on YouTube. Something behind the paywall.
I don't know.
That kind of goal.
The people need to see that. How's
What if
Keanu
somebody
gonna
steals
see
your
this?
Speed 3 idea? Incredible. Well, we're going to talk about Tennis today, but I did also, because you guys weren't on the episode, I ended up talking to Omar and Jacob about Mickey 17.
Okay,
Think
okay.
about that
Did
real
they
quick.
like it?
Yeah, we all actually had a very similar opinion, which makes it really boring podcasting. But
Oh, wow.
yes. What did you guys think?
I think that's what's going to happen today.
I also think so too.
I don't
This
think it
episode's
is.
going to be like,
I know
it's
it's
great.
not.
Whoa. Okay, I'm excited.
I can't wait to
I'm
talk
excited
to
for
you all
that. My since you already covered it, my quick Mickey 17 review is that, man, I love the first half, and then the second half. I remember, like, in my head, because the letterbox thing, I'm like, everything starts with 5 stars, right? Like, and it kicked off with 5 stars for me. I was like, totally loving Robert Pattinson's performance and the concept of this loser who, to escape getting killed, gets killed over and over and over again, was so fun to me. And then basically that midpoint when they split, and then it becomes this weird political stuff on the frozen planet with the creatures and stuff, it like completely like started to lose me. And overall, I was like, hey, I'm glad this movie exists. But I was like really, I was like, this is a 5-star movie for me, 5-star. And then I ended up giving like 3.5 or something by the end of it. But we saw it together.
We did.
But yeah, kind of mixed feelings, but overall, I don't know, there's lots of greatness in it. But
James had no idea we were coming to see the movie with him either.
I did.
He's totally scared. Got his ass so bad. It was hilarious. We jumped
Weren't we
out.
there first?
Yeah, you were.
What do you mean?
This is a thing that's been happening where like some sort of coordination will happen between Ryan and Elyse and Ryan's partner Katie.
We're pretty last minute with our movie going habits, and so occasionally
There was
toss it to Ryan and I'll go, we're going this day and this time if you want
I
to
do that to Omar all the time.
Yeah, we're very, very. I'll cancel tickets if we're not feeling it.
Same.
You know.
Yep.
So I'll say to, and then Ryan now is really into trying to surprise James.
Like not telling me that they're going to be there or lying to me. There's another time, which I don't think this is how pranks work, but basically there was one time where we were discussing, what was the movie that we were going to see? Oh, The Monkey. We were going to see The Monkey, and I was like, oh, are Ryan and Katie going to be there? And Elyse was like, no, they can't make it. And I was like, okay. And then we got there, and then Ryan came up behind me in the theater and was like, got your ass. And I was like, I don't think that's
Pranked.
how pranks work.
God, you should have seen his face.
My
Oh,
ex
boy.
Blaine used to like play pranks on me like that, where he'd be like, we're going to this brunch place. It's like 30 minutes away, but it's really good. And then we'd get there and it was around the corner. He'd be like, pranked! It wasn't
Got
far
your
away.
ass.
And I'd be like, great.
Those are my favorite pranks though, where it's harmful to no one.
Yeah.
It's just the stupidest
Yeah.
thing.
Just
Yeah.
like lying to you.
It's like getting Jeffed.
Yeah. SNL had this sketch once with Jeff Bridges where he pranked people. It was a prank show, and he would Jeff them, but it was just like sending someone flowers without a note.
Yeah.
And
And
they'd
he-
be like, "Who are these flowers from?" And he'd walk in and go, "You just got Jeff."
He'd always
love
come
it.
out right away. Like they'd
Yeah.
be like, this isn't my luggage. And then he'd go, all right, guys, all right. You just got Jeff. Settle down.
Yeah, my favorite.
Oh, I love it. It's so wholesome.
You know, just one more note on Mickey 17.
Yeah.
I actually forgot that we were going to do a podcast on that, and I have some very similar notes for Mickey 17 and Sinners. I would say.
I kind of see where you're going.
Too many
but-
people of
You
color.
thought there should be more Michael B. Jordans.
No,
Agreed.
I guess
Yeah.
there's a
Well,
lot.
yeah.
I'll wait till we get in.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
but I really overall really enjoyed Mickey 17. It looked amazing. I love Bong Joon-ho. I love the loser main character.
His performance.
And overall, yeah, I agree. It's kind of messy and sloppy in some points, and they're just jam packing so much shit into this thing, themes and whatnot. But overall, I still just really appreciated the attempt. I thought it was the
Fun movie.
originality was great. You know, like it was a unique movie.
I'm of the similar mind too, where I kind of felt like the first half really got me. I was super interested, and I thought the movie was going to be more of like this menagerie of Mickeys throughout it, like fumbling and doing all kinds of madcap stuff and navigating that. So when it wasn't ultimately that, maybe my expectations set me up for the wrong experience. But Robert Pattinson is the standout of that. Like that movie in other hands maybe wouldn't have hit that.
Yeah. I think
level
it's
I'm
worth
feeling.
watching just to see him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, very boring take on Mickey 17. Everybody agrees. Great. Sinners. What did you guys think?
Who wants to kick this off? You want me to
should.
kick it?
I think Ryan
should.
should.
We should do it,
we
Ryan,
kick
because it
off
sounds
with
like
the people
Ryan's
who
going to
probably
counter
agree.
our
Yes,
vibes.
I
It sounds
agree.
like the three of us are on the same page, and he's
yes.
going to be. I'll start with my. I thought it was great. I thought it was killer. I was into it. The whole time I was really upset that I saw a trailer or any marketing material for it. That was like my
I did
feeling.
not see a trailer.
That must be even better for you.
So how much did you know about it, if anything, going into it?
I knew there were two Michael B. Jordans.
Wow,
So you didn't
that's
know the
awesome.
vampire turn.
I think I wish that's how I felt, because the whole time I'm like, well, I know one of them turns into a vamp. Spoilers. I know one of them
so
turns
I
into a
figured
vampire.
that anyway because I was like, the only reason there would ever be two of them is because one of them turns. So I did
okay.
like pretty early, as soon as it was vampires, I was like, oh, one of the Michael B. Jordans is going to be a vampire. So that, I think the movie, they had trouble hiding that anyway.
Yeah. But I got at first I was like, where are we going? Like, where are we going? Everything, I think I didn't immediately slide right into loving it, but when it was going, I was like, man, there's like 3 or 4 movies in there, and I was like,
There's a lot
I'd
of
watch
setup.
all these movies. I would be down to watch all these movies. I thought Michael B. Jordan was incredible. honestly, all the performances I thought were awesome. Delroy Lindo killed it in this.
Is that the older guy?
Yeah.
Amazing.
He's
Always
the best
so
character.
good.
He's so
Yeah.
good. His characters were awesome, and the guy who plays the main vampire was awesome.
Yeah.
Like I was just like I was blown away by all these different elements, the cinematography, the stuff like that. I'm sure we're going to talk about the sequence in the middle. I was like, it didn't feel like it should work, but it was all working for me. The only thing that made me not love it is I do think that there are some like plot things that are clunky, like even in just blocking of where characters are and what's going on at certain times, more towards the end of the movie.
I was actively bothered by the part where Annie dies and all the vampires just like fuck off for a second.
It's like an
what?
Adam West Batman fight.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we're going to be swarmed by vampires. And like 2 come in, kill people that I didn't even know were
Which
still survivors.
Clearly, there was some maybe
Maybe
editing
something,
thing,
yeah.
there was
Maybe
some
someone got cut out or
happened
whatever.
there,
And I was
yeah.
like, and then just gave the space for them to do things. And then at a certain point, they were like, all right, run away. And they just ran away. And then
Right.
Delroy Lindo stayed behind for kind of no reason. It's not like he's like, I'm going to hold the door shut. He was just like, I'm going to do this thing. There were like a couple things like that in it that I felt were a little clunky, but it didn't feel like they were clunky because of reshoots or studio notes or whatever. It just felt like Ryan Coogler was like, hey, this is the way it happens. This is the way it goes. This is my movie. This is the way I want to do it. I'm ready to move on to the next thing. And I'm always more down with that than when it feels like a bunch of cooks in a kitchen.
Yeah, sure.
So overall, I thought it was awesome. I was like totally into it. I've recommended it to a bunch of people, but it wasn't like up. I know some people are saying like, this is the best movie I've ever seen. And it wasn't that for me, but overall thought it was awesome.
Elyse?
I loved it. It was the best movie I've ever seen. It's definitely the best movie I've seen this year. And I think it's because, kind of to what you were saying, it is made so confidently. Everything about it is so confident that even there are parts like that where there's weird blocking stuff, or maybe there was something that was completely removed in post that now means there's a little bit of a awkwardness. But like James was saying, I think Ryan Coogler said, I want to make the most entertaining movie. So to hell with that. It's gonna be this way. And it's so confident in everything it does. And the performances across the board were excellent for me. There wasn't a weak link in the movie, in my opinion. I forgot after about 5 minutes that Michael B. Jordan wasn't just one man.
Yeah.
And like, I'm like, oh my gosh, his brother, like how much he feel in this moment?
The same guy.
Yeah. Like Haley Steinfeld, I thought was like, everybody was
Always
just so
amazing,
good.
yeah.
Wenmi Masoku, I'm going to say her name completely wrong, but she is like so good in everything that she's in. Like His House is another great horror movie. It was just like across the board so good for me. I know all the inspirations that he's pulling from, and I'm sure we'll talk about all of those. But to me, it felt like a movie that would have come out in the 90s, and we would now look at like, this is a classic. This is an instant classic.
Yeah. I absolutely loved it. Feel more positively about it than I think James does, where I was like, well, I don't know, okay. But I loved it so much that I don't care.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That I'm like, I don't need to nitpick this. I think this movie's fucking amazing. Like, I loved it. I like, as soon as the credits rolled, I leaned over to Rahul and I went, it's a bit woke. He looked so offended, and I was like, I'm joking. I thought it was like everything you guys are saying across the board. The music's also incredible. I felt like the tension was very good. The pacing was very good. It's literally just a couple of like awkward things that you're right. Sometimes people just go, hey, it's a fucking horror movie. Whatever. And I'm okay with that too. Very little negative to say about it. Ryan?
Now to you, Ryan.
I mean, there'd have to be something with a person if you watch that movie and then you got problems with it.
Yeah.
No. So the movie had like there's so many ingredients that I should love about the movie. I fucking love horror movies. I love I love Clarksdale, Mississippi. I love the Old South. I love like the Crossroads and Robert Johnson and all that whole legend and lore.
Not to interrupt you, could you explain the Robert Johnson thing? Because I'm curious if you know this, being from Australia.
I don't even know what that is.
So Robert Johnson, he went to the Crossroads, which is the intersection of Highway 61 and this other street.
Generally how crosswords work, yeah.
And he was there. It's dramatized in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou a little bit. But yeah, he went there. Basically, he left for a certain, small amount of time. And when he came back, he was this incredible blues musician. And the legend has it that he sold his soul to the devil to become, what's that called? Faustian bargain.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so that was the story. And then basically from Robert Johnson, that's kind of, he's supposed to be the grandfather of the blues. And then from there, more people learned the blues, and then rock and roll came from the blues. And then, now we have every band you like, and Daft Punk and Smash Mouth and, Nirvana.
The classics, yeah.
Right. Yes.
Stuff like that, right? So anyway, so I'm very into the setting of the story. I just thought that, yeah, like kind of like how we were saying Mickey 17 had all this stuff going on. I had the feeling that you guys had for Sinners for Mickey 17, where I'm like, yeah, there's all this clunky stuff. It's not really what, you can think about it too much and it doesn't really add up. But like, I just really loved the ride. Whereas Sinners, I had the opposite, where I was just kind of like, there's so much cool stuff happening here, but I kind of was bothered that I didn't feel like the themes really, it kind of like they set up all this cool setup that I was really into. And then once it turns into the vampire movie, it just kind of turns into a very, to me, standard vampire movie that was fine. I didn't hate it. It looked, I definitely agree, it looked awesome. And then that whole sequence you're talking about in the middle with the music, I thought to me, that was where I was like, all right, let's go. I was like, this is where it's going to turn into this amazing movie. And also I kind of wanted, I really didn't have that many expectations. I didn't know much about it. I'd seen one trailer, and I didn't even notice that Michael B. Jordan was playing two people.
Oh, okay.
Elyse had to go, when she was telling me how much she liked the movie, before I saw it, she's like, yeah, it would have helped if I didn't know that Michael B. Jordan was playing two people. I'm like,
sorry.
Wow. I know.
Wow, Elyse.
But then you also said something to the effect of like, and I was so into both of their characters, and I definitely disagree with you on that. Like, to me, they were way too similar. Like, one of them had a red hat, one of them had a blue hat, one of them had a gold tooth. But like, and yeah, there were some subtleties there, but like, I didn't walk away going, wow, he really embodied two different people amazingly. So I don't know, that part was a little weird, but it wasn't a deal breaker.
Still twin brothers.
Sure.
Like, I was like, I know the difference between these two guys, but they're like best friends and twin brothers. I was like, they're going to be a similar kind of guy.
Yeah,
that's how I felt. It felt like he was playing two twins, right? Like they grew up in the same conditions and they're extensions almost of each other. But the smaller, because I also at the same time, when it started, I was like, they're very similar. Like they're both speaking similarly. It's not like I'm the crazy one.
I
but
totally agree.
Then by the end of it, I was like, no, but they're like two halves. Yeah. Of a same. And so I appreciated the small nuances more, but I completely understand what you're saying.
Who was Smoke and who was Stack? Who was red and who was blue?
Who
was with Mary and who was with Annie?
Stack was blue and Smoke was red, right?
Yes, I think so.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, when I was watching the movie, I definitely knew the answer to that, and I was following it fine. Now it's like, because they also have similar names.
And one was older, right?
And they're also like, their names are like Elias and Elijah. Or they're like actual characters.
And they called themselves cousins, and then they called themselves brothers.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're definitely brothers.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Last thing too. It's just like I love the intro and the whole just setup of like, there's some music that kind of, can pierce the veil of what it's like, life and death and stuff. I was like, awesome. This is going to be like some weird, like, it's going to be like Footloose with blues music where it's going to be the whole just like people, being alive through the blues, but then there's the whole conservative preacher and stuff and that whole thing. And blues music is going to bring out these vampires and stuff. And they kind of touch on that, but they really don't. It just kind of is there in the background a little bit.
I
it's
have
not
to
really
ask you, because I wonder if like what I'm taking from this movie being so different from what you're taking from this movie is that I saw something that you didn't see, which may not even be correct. What do you think the theme of this movie is? What do you think it's about?
Well, that's what I was going to actually, because I could say probably 5 or 10 things that they kind of touch on. What it overall is about, I'm curious to hear what y'all think. But like, like he talks about like, all right, that, at the end of the movie, he's like, that was the one day. But even though before everything went to shit, that was the one day I felt the most alive and stuff. And it was just kind of like the communal aspect of music and, this devil's music and just how, and them setting up the people at the beginning. I don't know. Is it, because they didn't really give a definitive answer on one way or another. Is music evil? Is blues music? Does it really bring back vampires? I mean, what are they trying to say about that? I don't know. They kind of just touch on it. What did you think the movie's about?
I think this movie's about the KKK and the theft of black culture, and that's
well,
why I was like, oh my God,
actually
incredible.
really like that reading because to me the whole allegorical part of like, all right, you know, the music is what's, you know, when they feel the most alive, and the vampires are, you know, feeding off of that. It's like that's pretty cool. But like, and so yeah, I can see that. But like, they didn't. It's not the most. Would you say the most obvious theme? Or
The whole way through, I was like, that's what this movie's about.
I think there's a lot wound up in this movie, and that's one of the things I like about it, because I think that another thing that stood out to me, and I think what I love about it is, I'm sure if you asked Ryan Coogler, he'd be like, it's these 5 things, but I also made it so that way you can pull what you want to, because
totally true.
I feel like I think some of it is the way one can use their own culture, how they can weaponize their own culture for either defense or offense, and how music is like the most, in many ways, the most obvious expression of that culture, because there's so many different versions of music in this, and they're all used different ways, right? Like to either debuff themselves or debuff others. And I thought that was really interesting. So like, you know, obviously when Sammy plays the song, that's when it empowers like everyone in that room, and it ties it through. You see literally all the cultural elements that extends through and goes, this is a vein of our culture that like we will not allow to be broken. Then it extends forward, it extends backwards, and it extends through all people that deal with this same kind of thing. But then even the vampires, I liked how it was an Irish vampire who turned the Ku Klux Klan members, because even that felt like it was a weaponization, right? Like, and his appeal to them was, listen, we're all the same. We're going to do our dance once they basically feed on everyone from the party, and they go, we're doing it. Look, we're partying out here. And it was a very interesting appeal, because it wasn't just saying, get out here, we're going to kill you. It was like, join our utopia where like there isn't this racism, and there isn't, but that felt like a bait, right? Like, because if you go far enough back, you can also see like Irish people were not a wholly embraced minority for a long time.
Irish people coming to North America because they were oppressed for practicing Catholicism.
Sure, yes, but it's like, okay, but the group that we follow, they're like, that we're not going to weaponize our culture that way. We're not, same to you. We're not going to let you take this from us, because then we just get added into this hole. We lose ourselves in your thing. And so then even when the kid goes home to his father, who's a preacher, and they're singing in the church.
Him holding the guitar is, I think, why that message lands to me, is that like he's had everybody taken from him. It is orchestrated by the KKK, who are always going to ruin their party the next day anyway, and he will not fucking let go of that broken guitar. He's like, you cannot take my DNA from me. They're gonna try, but I will never fucking let this go. And then it's the best fucking post-credit scene of all time. But I don't know. It felt very overt to me. So like, even if there are multiple things going on, which there are, it's complex. Mm-hmm. I felt like that particular point was so clear that everything was wrapped up into it, and I was like, I get it, and I love it.
What I think the movie's great because it shows there's Irish, there's Black, there's Chinese, there's like all these different depictions of culture and how
Italians and Irish up in Chicago that they stole.
Stuff there's from. and they're all like in some ways stereotyped and then unstereotyped. Like they're shown as trope and then breaking trope in a lot of ways, which I think is accurate and also really cool. But I don't know. I think there's just like so much going on in this movie that's really fun. The Haley Steinfeld character, I think, was really interesting.
Really interesting choice.
I have a take. I don't know if it's accurate, but it's really interesting because they're like, oh, she's welcome here because she has a father.
She's a quarter black.
She's like a quarter black. Like her father was half black, they say.
I read it as though she was welcome because she like grew up with them. Oh, like they do mention that.
She's a part of it, but they specifically call out her racial percentage essentially. And I do think it's interesting that she is the break point because I do think there's something to be said with her to be like, guys, I'm one of you. And it's going like, appreciate that. You're not though.
She did also do it to try to help. Like everything that happened with her character in this movie, I'm like excited to watch a YouTube video essay about in a few months. Cause like she did go out to try to help them. And then she just fucked it up and then
Yeah.
ruined everything. Like it's such an I don't know what all the messaging is behind that. I'm sure it was well thought out, or it was like it's a horror movie.
And also, like, if you really want to do like a deeper read on it, which might be completely wrong, like she being white passing person at that gathering went out to go and like having the privilege and the perception to go and parlay with these white people.
Yeah,
you know, and it's like
true.
I mean,
what is that?
I'll speaking as a white passing person, I think there is definitely something to, you may think you know, and you may feel like you have a legitimate claim to this culture or this side of it, but it is different. If you look different, it is different. And your experience is different, and it's going to be different inside and out. And so that's what I saw in that whole through line is like, of course she's the break point for this, because it doesn't matter how legitimately she feels.
She's not treated
Society
the same way.
puts her in a completely different bucket.
She didn't get sold a warehouse that the KKK was
Exactly.
intentionally
You
gonna
know,
murder.
like she's not dealing, she was getting on the train at the beginning. She wasn't dealing with any sort of harassment. She was living a white life for better or for worse. And so I think that stuck out to me as like, oh, they're definitely making a statement where it's like, that's great that you feel that way.
Yeah,
But let's
true.
be honest, you know? And this movie is just jam packed with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
yeah.
So Ryan, did you have?
Yeah, like I like that there. I just wish it all kind of came together more for me. It kind of, there's a million, like you're saying, there's a million little instances like that I just kind of, to me, it just left it out there in the ether for you to chew on.
I can understand if you felt like there was too many and you didn't find one to latch onto. Like maybe we had different experiences.
Well,
together.
I kind of I like what you're saying about, you know, the KKK and stuff. Like I like all of the different through lines. To me it came off as a overall mess whole.
Can I tell you what I saw? One of the unifying like connections that kind of made the movie for me.
Please.
I felt like everyone in a twisted and inadvertent way got their happiness in the end, or got some semblance of it. I felt like,
How did the harmonica man who was assaulted by a gang of vampires get his happiness in the end?
Delroy Lindo.
Yeah.
I have a take on that.
Well,
If you-
Delroy.
Yeah,
Oh, he
yeah.
got. Oh, yeah.
His whole story that he told in the car was how he managed to escape. He and all of his bandmates or whatever were basically just arrested for being black, and then, he managed to get away, even though he was no more deserving of it than any of those other guys. It's like someone rolled the dice, and so at the end, by him dying.
Takes
So
one for the
others is basically him like evening the playing field, and he goes, "I got to." So I
even
think that
considered
holds
that,
up.
Yeah, I
with
think
that.
That's a good point.
I mean,
Yeah.
for me, just thinking through like Smoke and Mary wanted to be together in a time where obviously segregation, you know, post Civil War, they could not be together. But then as vampires live on through, you know, 100 years later when it's societally acceptable for them to be together, right? They now can be together.
But only at night.
Oh, only at night, but like
no,
openly.
In theory, they're indoors together during the day.
Yeah, openly, publicly, some kind of underground walking system. They're there. You know, Annie and Stack, obviously, like they have a child that died. Now they are with them. They're together. Like I was like, okay, like there are those glimmers of, oh, like I think it's like it's not the happy ending, but it's like some ending that they get to
It's
have
a
some
wrap
kind
on
of
the
This is
story.
the happy ending for Preacher Boy's preacher
Preacher.
father, who saw him just go off and be a successful blues guy.
I don't think he gets.
The Devil's Music.
He doesn't. Yeah, he
No,
doesn't get
he's-
sick.
I don't think he truly had his son's best.
So there was
It's not about
one.
him. It's not about him.
Well, Preacher Boy's happy ending was pretty obvious. He
Yeah.
got to
Yeah.
go down on that married woman.
Yep. Yeah.
Real quick about the harmonica dude. In terms of just music and its effect on everything in this movie, like I love the scene of them in the car and him talking about his friend getting lynched, and then kind of going like just like reacting to that, and then that turning into like this blues hymn song. That was the biggest most obvious turning your pain into music.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which they almost
That was
cut.
cool.
I
That
saw
was
an
Did they
interview.
really? No
I
way.
saw an interview with Delroy Lindo where he's like, they almost. He's like, that was written, and I performed it, but he gave the music, the song part came organically,
Oh, wow.
almost improvisationally, and he thought it was incredible. And then the first cut that they saw of the movie, it wasn't in there. And he went to Ryan. He was like, "Man, what's going on?" And Ryan was like, "I hear you. And then eventually they like talked it out, and he's like, I'm going to try and put it back in and figure it out. But like imagining it not in is great.
I wonder why they even thought about doing that. Yeah, it's really fantastic.
Maybe
that's
just
really interesting.
Time, though. I do think that
well.
the slow burn of the first half of that movie is so incredible and so vital. And
Totally.
my favorite piece of vampire media ever, which I don't think has been done correctly on screen yet, is Salem's Lot, the Stephen King book. I read it in high school, and I was just like, this is so incredible, so chilling, the idea of this whole town, spoiler for Salem's Lot, getting exterminated by vampires, like wiped off the map by vampires in the aftermath. And that novel does that too, where it's like that slow burn. You get to know everybody in the town before it like unleashes that on you. But then, I was like watching this, I'm like, oh yeah, this is much more Dusk Till Dawn, especially because like obviously Salem's Lot is a very white story. Like your hero is this, alcoholic, white, middle-aged guy, Stephen King's favorite thing. And so like, but then Ryan Coogler I saw in interviews is like, oh no, Salem's Lot. Like that was one of my big inspirations for it. And I thought, oh cool. Cause yeah, like that's it, is like getting to know all these characters. So it's so impactful. Like from Dusk Till Dawn, for me, I always just felt like it was kind of an amazing surprise more than it had anything to do with like any commentary on those characters.
I think I'm legally obligated to say Midnight Mass.
I was thinking that too.
That's like number 2.
Unofficial. That's in the unofficial.
Yeah,
number
I
2.
I have to. But like similar thing, and obviously Mike Flanagan's a huge Stephen King fan, collaborators, that it is like getting to know everybody and then watching the aftermath of that. Yeah, it is an important thing.
You don't think From Dusk Till Dawn is a commentary on Mexican strip clubs?
When Cheech Marin's talking about all the different flavors that they have inside the club.
Right, exactly.
Cheech and Chong are doing a final movie, and I think you should
the
be in
last
it.
movie.
You have to be in it.
You got to be in it. Right?
I had
We gotta call somebody.
I will say, to your point about Mickey 17, I think my thing is the start of Mickey 17 felt so simple. And then the second half spirals out into threads. Whereas I felt like this is the inverse. Where I feel like, I'm agreeing with you, but I also think that like maybe the difference in my mind is this movie starts big and then narrows, right? To a bunch of stuff happening in this barn in this one night. And maybe that just works differently in my brain. Maybe I'm like, oh, it feels like highways are merging as opposed to roads are splitting out. So
that's a good point, but I guess I just felt like then you really got to nail the vampire part at the end. And I guess maybe this is a personal taste thing, but I just don't find that brand of vampire very scary or compelling at all.
I did not find this movie scary at all.
No.
Yeah, not at all.
No.
Like at all. But
At any point.
But even without that, like there's just all of the plot things that you were talking about to me, like there's just kind of so many egregious like vampire movie sins, and especially the biggest one, the one that really got me on my eyes, is just them catching on fire with the sun. It's like, dude, like you're all vampires, like this, this is gonna, you better set your fucking watch for the, 30 minutes before the sunrise coming up. Like, are you
I was
morons?
also like, really? The timing of that?
Like, come on. Like, that kind of really made it go down a couple entire stars for me when the sun.
Sometimes in limited miniseries, someone goes to the beach and they catch on fire.
It
or
happens.
in a boat and they catch on fire. And
sometimes people will be like, what's the sequel for Midnight Mass? When are you doing it? And it just has to be Sheriff Hassan on the beach because everyone else is fucking dead.
Yeah.
Then he maybe coughs and then stands up and he's like, well.
Oh, it went right through.
Kids.
No, I do think that the end
Sucked.
I don't think it sucked. I don't think it sucked. And again, I think it's because there's something that felt intentional. It felt like Ryan was like, this is how I want it to end. And when it comes from like a single voice, I was like more fine with it. But it really felt like everything was building to something. And then at a certain point, he looked at his timeline on Premiere and he went
2 hours and 17 minutes.
He's like, I gotta close this out. Like, I really gotta close this out because we have 2 post-credit scenes and a bunch of stuff.
I mean, I completely agree with your issue with it. Again, I just love the movie so much that I wash it away. Whereas, like, to me, the ending is him murdering the KKK.
Yeah, come on, Ryan.
The ending to me is like, I didn't take the like, oh, the vampires, that's irrelevant. Like, who gives a shit about that? The ending to me is this dude fucking destroying this piece of shit group of people and like finally getting what he deserved.
And even that, then I'm glad he at least got shot once, because him going up there with a Tommy gun to an entire army, it's that's another kind of one of those movie sins where it's like, all right, well, you better get a shot at least once. He did, though. So
he also died.
The exit wound. Yeah, that's true.
In some ways, the movie feels like a blues song. Because like lots of those songs, like you're describing, start with like, a guy went to a place. And you're like, that's reasonable. And there was a party that was going all night. And you're like, yeah, those happen. And he goes, and then he went out and met the devil. And you're like, wait, what? He's like, and the devil gave him powers. And you're like, hold on. But it's all because it's telling this like metaphorical thing, right? And then it ends with, the song has some sort of bombastic point at the end of it that it's trying to make. Feels like an interesting thing that I'm just occurring to me now about that movie.
Well, and one thing off of that I did like about it is kind of ridiculous, but the thing that made it feel a little more like a parable-esque thing is just the fact that the very idea that these guys get back here from 7 years and they're like, all right, our dream is to start a juke joint. We're going to do it opening nights today. They find an old abandoned barn. They're like, we're going to fix this thing up.
Speed run it a little bit.
They speed run the whole day up to where it's like by the end of it, they've recruited all their friends and it's an amazing condition and everything. It's like, that would have at least taken an entire day, and you had the opening night tomorrow.
More than a day. Am I wrong?
I assumed it was pretty. It goes yesterday, and then it like starts.
That is pretty fast.
I guess I just thought that like, okay, like they know that they're coming up with all this alcohol. Like there was some pre-pro that they did coming from Chicago where they're like, we have all this alcohol, and it was kind of maybe a different time where you could walk up to the guy at the train station and be like, you want to play tonight? And he doesn't need to sign it like a 1099, or he doesn't need to sign like an I-9 or anything. Yeah.
They do establish some of that because they go to their truck, which they had laid at the side of the road, which has a snake in it for some reason, but then also is like filled to the brim with, I think, all of their supplies to make this.
I forgot about the snake.
Yeah.
I completely forgot.
Yeah, I don't know what that snake was about.
I mean, there's got to be some symbolism there.
For sure.
I think that's the choice, right?
Yeah.
Like this is the moment. If you go down this path, it leads to death. But it leads to a solidification of your culture. You know, I'm piecing this together right now, and I think this is the fun of the movie.
Well, I do like that it fits nicely in the subgenre of movies about throwing a party.
Okay,
right?
all right.
You got like Dazed and Confused.
Yeah,
a
Can't Hardly
bit,
Wait.
Can't Hardly Wait. It's just like, all right, you know, if you've actually ever thrown a party, there's like there's a million things you got to do. There's a whole bunch of things. You got to recruit all these people. Everyone's got to come together as a community. And I like that how they presented that.
Now I just hit up a guy on Instacart. I go, bring me White Claws. So
easy now.
I'm curious what you all thought about this, because I kind of love when sometimes new movies and TV kind of lean into some of the vampire tropes in ways where like it could seem really cliche, but they're like, fuck it. The whole notion of you need to be invited in, I thought was such a fun element in the juke joint.
They had a vampire expert in town to tell all the rules to those things.
Annie and her, I think like her whole background of like hoodoo and everything. Yeah. It's like, okay, makes sense. But I just loved that feeling.
The scene of the guy who was the security guard. I don't remember the character's name.
Cornbread?
Yeah. Of him standing out there, like even though it was so fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yes, and that feeling of there's just this threshold that's keeping them out. Like it's such a and
I
it's
panicked
not
when
scary.
a window got broken. I was like, does that count?
Yeah.
No.
It's not scary, like you said. I didn't think the movie was scary, but just there's that little feeling of like
the tension of it. Yeah, they have a literal barrier.
Yeah.
It's such great metaphorically though too, right? Like I think like, are we going to invite this toxicity into our cultural community? Right? Like I don't know. I think it's really fun. And then also it's a party. Parties have doormen. They're supposed to vet the people that come in and are out. It's like a triple layered metaphor of like stuff that's happening there. But this case, they're vampires.
There's a lot of media that like modern media that would probably think we don't need to do that cheesy stuff.
No.
And I'm glad this movie did it because it is so fun to watch. Like the scenes where they're trying to convince someone to go out and join as well, or like, the bartering where they ask him, they're like, you never needed permission to come in before. Even though we know, just so fucking fun to like see all of those scenes. I'm really glad that they kept that like kind of cheesy stuff in. I mean, the stakes is like, again, one of those things in this movie that I'm willing to forgive is like, really, y'all killed that many of them with the small amount of stakes you had? Okay, sure you did.
Yeah.
There's like definitely some of that stuff is very cheesy.
It felt very 90s. Like this is a movie from the 90s where it's like, there are vampires outside. Okay, we better have our weird, like I think of like an Aquaman that like, I forget the villain. Is it Black Manta? What's his name? Yeah. And he's like doing his like weird like montage of making his stuff. And I was like, this is strange. But then in this, it's like, better whittle our like sticks. And I'm like, they're just chilling outside while you're getting all this ready.
It was really fun too.
Oh, yeah.
It was like sort of a like the thing moment.
Testing their blood and stuff.
It's almost like an homage in that they didn't need to do that bit.
Him smoke waking up locked in the
banging on the
like
door.
So good. And it's such a cliche vampire thing of like, or any kind of movie where it's like maybe somebody's, body snatcher or whatever. But I'm like, it's so good.
Yeah.
I did like the few times this happened where, when he walks in and she's eating him alive while she's having sex with him or something, and he's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It was like 3 times.
We have to get you closer to that mic.
Sorry.
It's not your fault. I'll have to figure out a different way to do it. Sorry, everybody. The levels are just so different.
And I just loved how Ryan Coogler was like, I unabashedly love movies, and I don't care if I'm lifting and referencing and paying homage to different movies that you'll be able to call out very specifically in this. And to me, that just makes him seem more confident as a filmmaker, not that he's taking anyone else's or copying anyone else. I'm like, everything is copy at this point. So like, why not just do it well?
Puss in Boots.
Oh yeah, he said
he
loved Puss in Boots Last
major.
Wish.
You want to know a major influence? Puss in Boots Last Wish.
Faculty?
Yeah, you see
That
Puss in
movie's
Boots.
so fucking good.
So good. He called up the faculty.
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
When I watched Midnight Mass, I was like, dude, this is sick. It reminds me of Storm of the Century, which like was the Stephen King. He wrote it for to be like a TV miniseries. And when I was a kid, it was I love TV events. And so the trailers were out for Storm of the Century, and then it was on. And we were like, we got to sit down and watch Storm of the Century. And then I later saw him say like, oh yeah, Storm of the Century was a big inspiration. And I was like, fuck yes.
It's totally a thing.
He's also lame like me.
One of us.
That's how it's meant to work, right? That's the iterations of
But even
the stuff
this
that
had like
influences you.
Storm of the Century vibes too, which maybe Ryan Coogler is just a Stephen King guy all around.
I think one of the only things that I don't know what I necessarily, because so much didn't feel like fodder, and us talking about it now, I don't necessarily know entirely the intention of the Chinese family.
I was reading that. I guess it takes place in the like Mississippi Delta. Is that?
I know
is?
there is accurate representation of like that was a group that was there at the time, but I'm saying
That
like
is forgotten, kind
their
of, yeah.
relationship to the story, because she's very pivotal to it.
Yeah, she's
like
important.
he's less so, but
and
like
that was the thing that egregiously bothered me watching it when she just kind of like.
I'm curious if someone
Screws the
out there.
pooch
I
on
do not believe a
everything.
human would do that.
Yes, yeah.
Well, also she's like
unrealistic.
we can't just wait out the sun because they're gonna go kill my daughter.
Which is fair.
And then the sun comes up literally 5 minutes later, and I'm like, probably could have waited out the sun.
Again, there are holes that you can definitely.
But if anyone's watching or listening, I'm curious if there's some sort of historical context that I'm unaware of that like relates to that, like I don't know, like what happened to that culture or those people around that time that is representative of. Because if it was just used as a device to just like we need to start wrapping this up, I would have loved if there was something more to that, because it made her look foolish, and she was pretty sensible the whole time.
But at first I thought that, but then it wasn't her plan just to be like, well, we got to fight him, like, instead of them going to my daughter. Like,
Yeah, that was. But her whole thing was, they were like, we just got to wait it out. They can't get in. We know that we're not vampires because we did the garlic test.
and
so
they
let's
were
just
all there. They weren't leaving.
let's just wait it out. And she was like, we don't have time to wait it out because my daughter is vulnerable. But in the actual context of the film, it feels like there's like
Sunset was right.
there's
around
like
the corner.
10 minutes from the point where she says that statement to the sun coming up and burning all of them outside.
It would have been better if they'd been like had 2 vampires be like, all right, hey, you go get the daughter,
Or something, if there's an actual time thread, or even if the image of, that's the thing, is like the image of the sun coming up over that body of water and all of them burning is like such a great image, but if there was like some sort of mirror, like it's like, oh, they thought they had more time, and then something transpired that like they blew up the roof, and the roof is allowed the sunbeam to go through.
That's what Midnight Mass does, right? It's like they burn all the structures so they don't have anywhere to go.
Something like that would have been good. That being said, that main vampire, the first time we see him, he's also almost burning in that sun.
Yeah.
That's true.
think he just is really bad with time.
That's true. And technically, like, the lore of this is that all the vampires share each other's memories, so maybe they all just got dumb because of this.
Maybe.
I was going to ask what you all thought of that notion of
Because
like,
that's new,
the
right?
hive
You might have
mind.
seen more vampire stuff than I have. That's
I
not
don't know if they, like, I mean, I feel like vampires, they've been represented as being able to like read thoughts or have some kind of like telepathy, but the like shared collective hive mind consciousness, I don't know.
What was
I've
interesting
seen
though
anything.
too, because it felt like it was definitely filtered through him, which I think was another like cultural statement there. Like, oh, come join us where you don't have to worry about whether or not you're white, black, or anywhere in between. And you can be whoever you want to be. We don't judge you. And he goes, but we all have to be you.
Well, when Michael B. Jordan and Mary are in the 90s at the end together, are they,
Michael B. Jordan and Mary.
or whatever, if they are, when they're,
And they look fly as hell.
when they're having vampire sex, are they still with the hive mind? Like, do they share the same brain?
They like turn it off.
Memories. Oh no, but they felt her pain when she died, so maybe they do feel pain. Or
Do they feel each other's
feel it when they're
orgasms?
coming. Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
You're asking great questions.
This is like you get to ask Michael or you get to ask Ryan Coogler like one question at a screening.
No, when I come. Maybe.
I will say on that note, if I'm making a list of all the things I liked about the movie, all the sweaty Southern sex in this movie was pretty cool.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
Well done.
And this was the horniness that I felt was missing from Nosferatu. This
Yeah.
is the horny vampire movie that we deserved.
And I will.
Made a lot more money too.
I have I've been to the Crossroads many times in my life. I love the Crossroads.
Like metaphorically or
No, in real life.
Oh, okay.
There's an actual Crossroads. It's actually technically the one that it's there. They've redone the roads in the last couple hundred years, so it's technically.
Which
about
one does the
50
devil hang out at?
How
How many Faustian bargains have you made?
Well, I went.
Explains why he's in everything.
At the corner at the Crossroads, you'll never guess it. What is there? A Church's Chicken.
Okay.
Church's Chicken.
Oh, is that
It's a chain
It's
of
a-
chicken
Yeah,
restaurants in the
but
South.
at where the devil hangs out is a Church's Chicken.
Well-
and I went there one time, a long time ago, with a lady friend of mine. I'm like, let's go have sex at the Crossroads where the devil hangs out. It'll be so fun. And
Church's Chicken
we were
bathroom?
about to go do it, but it was kind of there's people walking around, and this homeless guy came up, and we made friends with him. And he says he was John Lee Hooker's like second cousin and stuff. And so I was like, we probably shouldn't do this while this guy's just coming up. So then we just went down to down Highway 61 in a just cotton field. Did it there, and we were covered in ants.
I don't know if that's the same. It's not exactly a blues
my
song
God.
that you told us about.
I didn't know where that story was going to go, and I
Yeah.
never would have guessed it. It ended
Covered
up
in
there.
ants.
It's gonna end in ants.
Never, just goes to show you. Just sometimes things that you work.
The idea
if you
of
do it
you
in your
being-
mind, it's like it's not as cool as
The idea of you
reality.
pitching, let's have sex at the Crossroads, and then being like, sure, mate, like I could understand that being like a thing, and then going like, we can't. Let's have sex a couple miles down the road from the Crossroads.
not half a mile.
It doesn't
As close
really.
as I could get.
Man.
I think you just wanted to have sex more than
Yeah,
anything.
maybe.
Where the devil hangs out.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
There's no way that chicken made by God. It's too good.
It's a lie.
There's something in
The
there.
devil's chicken.
I went to
That Church's
the
Chicken.
drive-thru and I asked them. I made a video about it, and they didn't have any commentary.
Oh,
They're just like, "So do you want that lemonade?" Or
So please stop harassing us. Take your fucking food and go. Incredible. Overall, I think this movie, like, the reception's been so positive because I think it's so visceral in those music scenes, like more than anything, right? Like that's like the thing that like punches you and you can't walk away from. And I don't think I've seen anything that handles the music stuff like this does.
just Puss in Boots.
Just
It's
beautiful,
good,
except
yeah.
for Puss in Boots, the best film ever made.
My superficial kind of sad reason for really loving this is again that I feel like it's a movie that came out 30 years ago when my brain was really formative, the types of movies that I would watch and that came out in the 90s. Like there's just something about it to me that, and probably because of his influences, that has 90s all over it. And that he disregards some things that are not crucial to the
Super
movie in
interesting
his
that
mind.
like that's because I don't have that nostalgia at all, and like that's your like strongest takeaway from it. I think like kind of illustrates this conversation we're having in general is like, like reviews are emotional at the end of the day, right? Their opinions. It's just someone's
But
fucking
my
opinion.
emotion's like a weird, like
Yours is so different to mine.
Yeah.
But you still love it. And it's like we like it for completely different reasons, but you still end up being like, fuck yeah, this thing was good to me. And it's just like, this is the nature of reviews, just so fucking subjective. Like
it was
it's
like
just,
oddly comforting to me.
That's really
as a
interesting.
movie. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think, again, I'm not necessarily in the middle. I'm definitely more towards Alana and Elyse and am I liking it? But I see the things Ryan is talking
I don't
about.
disagree with that.
I see them and I completely understand
Yeah,
them.
I
But
don't
I
think
think
you're
for
wrong.
me, it like I was able to look past them because it felt like it was still coming from like one coherent vision of this story that Ryan Coogler wanted to tell and the people that he brought in to work with on this project that like completely understood what he was trying to say. So I don't know. I there's a world where a movie has the same kind of holes and gaps that I would be very more critical
Totally
of.
agree, yeah.
But this one, I just was like really vibing with it. I was talking with someone beforehand about some other actor. I don't remember who it was, and I probably wouldn't necessarily want to say anyway because why be negative? But how this person was in a lot of things, and we were like, but like, where's the charisma? Like if you're not a great actor, you should have this aura about you. And then we saw this shortly after that conversation, and I was like, Michael B. Jordan. He emits an aura, which is big movie star, great actor vibe, and like the thing that, because his performance is very subtle in the beginning, but the thing is when they separate and you can start seeing them interacting in different situations with the different people, you're like, oh my gosh, they are different.
Yeah.
And I specifically the moment where he's riding with Preacher Boy and he tells him to play something. And then Preacher Boy does like an improvised little thing. Woo! But before the woo, he looks.
He gets that look on
he's
his
like,
face.
I had no idea this kid and he says everything without a single word.
Yeah.
And I just remember on screen, it was like a glow, like up here. I was like Hugh Jackman in the fountain seeing like, oh, the aura. I see the aura. And this movie has a lot of auras in it.
For a
and
lot of
that's
people.
For a lot of
Yeah.
people. And that's just such a fun thing to
I
see.
mean, casting is 50% of directing. Like straight up, it's like the casting decisions that you make are so important. And it's just like he fucking cast the shit out of this movie. He did a great job. Like, it's, yeah, the performances are so good.
Yeah.
I want to watch it again.
Me too.
Like-
I think I'm going to go see it in IMAX when I get back.
There's so many. Have you seen the video of him talking about all the different formats that it's
Yes.
in?
Also very cool.
Oh my God. I love watching him talk, by the way.
Yeah.
The whole what is with the format changing mid movies? Like
Oh,
Chris
so yeah, I
Nolan
didn't get
does
that. I
shit.
didn't get that version. It's because you should watch this video.
aspect
'cause
ratios.
Ryan
Yeah.
Coogler explains all of it and why. And it's basically, he shot it on a specific 70 millimeter aspect ratio. And then, but then because of different croppings required by projection, some theaters have the crop in and crop out. Other theaters can show it entirely in its full format method. And other theaters crop the whole thing the whole time. So we
think I
didn't
had
have
crops
pop.
the
I don't
whole
think
time.
ours didn't have any
No.
popping in and
Neither.
popping out because we
I
didn't see
popped
it
in and
in
out.
70 millimeter
But I would
IMAX.
like to see that.
But then there's even another format that is like super limited, which is the full frame. That's the whole picture. But you should try and find that video. It explains,
is
it basically
really
answers exactly what you're asking, and it's a limitation of the
Well,
technology.
no
and the
matter what the
projections.
answer is, I just find going between letterboxing distracting and annoying.
I do find it distracting. I think The Dark Knight, because I definitely saw that, was
Yeah.
less distracting because of the choice. When they chose to do the 70 millimeter
Usually, like,
IMAX,
big
it was like
City stuff.
cutting from a scene of us conversing to an establishing shot of a new location for a period of time, as
Yeah.
opposed to going back and forth between just arbitrarily.
I agree it can be distracting,
Yeah.
but it's usually I'm excited when it goes full. That I'm
Yeah.
like,
Well,
"Oh, great."
I just feel like if I'm a filmmaker and I have a movie like that, I feel like I would just it'd be worth it to pan and scan just so that you don't have the going back and forth. Like, why not just crop your full IMAX
That's a fair
or
take.
Watch
why
the
not
video.
make it full?
Video is really
the
Ryan
letterbox
Coogler
one full.
explains exactly why. It's not his fault. It's the theater's ability to project certain images and what happens when it goes through their projector systems.
I do want to watch it because I
Yeah.
feel like no matter what, at the end
You're
of the
just
day,
saying why not just crop everything down into it? And the answer is because he's giving them certain prints and they're doing with it what they can.
Well, I feel like Ryan's suggestion is that you would make it formatted so it's the same for
It's
every
the
theater.
same no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like just give me the version where it never
I get
switches.
that too. Well, that's the fun of art, right? People just make different calls and
Sure.
they justify them, and that's cool.
Yeah.
We should all go in, I think, August to go see Buddy Guy perform live.
Oh, wow.
You know, the musician at the
preacher,
post-credit
preacher
scene.
boy.
Hell yeah.
Older
is a
preacher
grown
boy.
man, yeah.
He's going to be in town.
Oh,
Where
that's
is he
awesome.
playing at?
He's playing at one of those weird, like, off, it's like 40-minute way play. It might be at like a casino or something.
Oh, yeah. Yamava.
Very cool.
Something like Pachanga.
Oh, nice.
And then also, after we have so much fun at that, we should all take a road trip to Clarksdale to Ground Zero, which is Morgan Freeman's owned blues club. And
To that field you fucked in?
to that field I fucked in.
I asked this before. Well, what are you guys up to? Where can people find you?
We're doing every Tuesday. We're releasing that fun trivia podcast we mentioned at the top. Answer for it. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts. Other than that, I'm basically James Holmes wherever. Instagram, Blue Sky. So search for me. It's either me or a cardiologist. So I'm not the cardiologist.
And I'm Elyse Willems online, or someone having a heart attack.
Yeah, which I can't help with.
Wait, what?
Well,
My alternate is a cardiologist.
sorry, yes.
But my bad. I was like, why is there an Elyse Williams who had a heart attack? It's like the other Blaine Gibson that's searchable was like a guy who was trying to find the plane parts.
Oh, I thought there's an Imagineer. Isn't there like a famous
Maybe as well.
Imagineer who's
But it
playing
was
Gibson?
a guy who was trying to find parts of one of the planes that crashed and was like a conspiracy theorist about where it ended
No,
up.
that's the Blaine we know.
And one time they reached out to the Blaine we know, and a news outlet asked to interview him. I don't remember if he said yes to it or not.
Oh, he should have. Yeah,
He may have. I actually don't remember. Very good. How about you, Ryan? Where are you doing?
You can find me my name is Ryan Haley. You can find me at the AMC Americana 14 at Brand. Where else CBC? There's actually, when I went and saw Sinners, at my concession stands guy was like, hey, Ryan. And then he pointed, and he had a Ryan name tag. It was a Ryan. And I just said, I'm like, do I have something that says my name's Ryan? And he just goes,
Sometimes you just
Funhouse.
forget that
Wow,
you're a
that's awesome.
Funhouse. That's
Yeah.
so funny.
I'm like, oh, sweet, Ryan. Then I told him about the Ryan meetups and all this stuff.
Nice.
And, anyway.
Ryan Plus.
Yeah, Ryan Plus.
Ryan Plus?
Oh, yeah. You can find me on Ryan Plus. I'm streaming usually Wednesdays at 7:30 has been my
AM.
7:30 p.m. has been my Pacific time. That's been my normal consistent thing. And then I've been releasing a lot more videos on Ryan Shorts, and I think that's all I got
songs
going.
and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, all your
Besides-
videos are excellent.
Yeah.
People
you, Elyse.
are
Stuff.
got to check out. It's you put so much
You're so
work
creative.
and
Very
effort in
cool.
them.
Appreciate you.
Played pickleball with Ryan a couple weeks ago. We changed teams and played a bunch of games, and Ryan was the only one who lost every game.
Thank you for reminding everyone about that.
I'm just saying
Making
it
that
out loud
public
because it's the last
information.
thing he wants anyone to know.
I was the
Common
weakest link.
denominator. Oh my god, that's amazing. Also, I love that there's like a rift in that you guys are AMC members.
I
and
know.
that we're
Yeah.
Alamo members because like Jacob and Omar are as well. So I have to see movies with
know.
them, and was just like a line in the sand.
I know, and then
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't rationalize spending the money on this and then going to that.
can't.
No
I
one
was
will
spending-
cross the line,
No.
the picket line,
I know.
to go to
Won't
the
do
other
it.
theater.
Well, I would for IMAX.
So, okay,
Because we can't
you
do
would
that
for
in Alamo.
IMAX. I would for Alamo Repertory screenings of weird old stuff.
They do great
so
stuff.
if you are going to any of those, please let us know. If you
Yeah.
ever need to go to IMAX, please
Hit
let
me
us
up.
know. And then we'll
Then that's
one
where
day
the
we
warring
will see a
parties will
movie
meet in the
together.
middle
Yeah, yeah.
occasionally.
Yeah, we will never see a non-IMAX new movie
Well,
together again.
Never.
If the ArcLight ever comes back, that'll
God.
be our common ground.
Yeah, I'm
forgot
cool with
about that.
Yeah. R.I.P. Well, thank you for watching, everyone. We'll see you the next time a movie comes out and we want to talk about it. Bye.
Bye.
This has been Movie House. We got to get a good outro.
That's perfect. Yeah. Just add an echo to that.